Here's today's First Word Daily Devotion.
Here we are today at February the 8th, and our reading today is a great opportunity for us to take our thoughts captive and place them under the obedience of Christ. As we come today to perhaps a difficult section of Scripture, one that needs our look, so that we can ensure that we are interpreting things rightly according to the ways of God. And so here we have in Exodus chapter 20 and 21, the Decalogue, where God gives the 10 commandments. God spoke these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And it's important for us to remember that this God is a God of salvation. And so these 10 commandments are given to us in terms of redemption. There is indeed, according to Exodus chapter 19, there is a intention and direction that the Lord is taking us, and we need to remember that. Remember our place. We are reading the Bible as Christians, and what does that mean? It means that we have the end already disclosed to us, and so we are reading Exodus chapter 20 in light of the end, in light of the cross, in light of the victory of God through the resurrection of the Son. And so we have these 10 commandments here, and then we have this understanding of what happened after the 10 commandments. Look at verse 18. When all the people saw the thunder and the flashes of lightning and the sound of the trumpet and the mountain smoking, the people were afraid. Now this is important. And trembled, and they stood far off, and said to Moses, You speak to us, and we will listen. And then look at what they say next. But do not let God speak to us, lest we die. And so there's this desire. Remember, God saves His people so that He can be their God, and they can be His people. But here we see fear stepping in the way. This is a pattern that we've seen since the garden. Remember, God gave His command. The people disobeyed, or the first humanity, Adam and Eve, disobeyed the commands of God. And what do we see them doing? We see them hiding. Where they were supposed to have fellowship, where they were meant to walk with God, now they're hiding from Him. And that pattern is being repeated. And then we focus on these passages, in particular in Exodus chapter 20 and 21, but especially in chapter 20, or especially in chapter 21, we focus on these laws that highlight justice. And that's how we're supposed to understand these laws. No doubt you'll probably have some questions about some of these laws, and I want to just take a minute to invite you, if you do have these questions, that you can write to us at info@fbcstarkville.org. Or excuse me, that's not right, fbcstarkville.com, fbcstarkville.com. You can write to us, and I'll do my best to answer some of the questions that you may have. But before we get into Exodus chapter 21, I want to ensure that you understand the whole trajectory of what we have next. Look at what happens here in Exodus 20, verses 22 through 26. God puts a highlight on what the intention of the law is about. And the intention of the law is idolatry, or to prohibit idolatry. But notice, as we're looking at all of these different laws here, I want you to notice as you read them how humanitarian focused they are. Also as well, we have justice on display. We have a cry in the hearts for justice. And remember this, we're reading Exodus chapter 21. It's coming to us in a world that is broken with sin. So humanity is broken as we encounter these laws. And it's important for us as we read the Bible. We don't want to have what's called an over-realized eschatology. You say, what is that? Eschatology is just simply the study of the last things, or the doctrine or the teachings of the last things. And we don't want to have, as we're reading the Bible in light of Jesus, we don't want to have an over-realized eschatology. Instead, we want to have a hope of a better day that's coming. So notice, for example, in Matthew chapter 21, notice how there is even a cry in Matthew 21 for justice. Look at this story here, and look how raw it comes to us as Jesus tells us. And the tenants took his servants, in verse 35, beat one, killed the other, and stoned the other. And then look again, the Bible's just describing, verse 41, they said to him, he will put those wretches to a miserable death, and let out the vineyard to other tenants, and give them fruits of their season. Now, we see also, again, focusing as we come to this next parable in Matthew chapter 22, verse 14, rounds out our discussion by saying, many are called, but few are chosen. Again, the justice of God is on display. Now, providentially, we come to Psalm 36, where we realize where the narrative of the Lord, or where the revelation of the Lord meets us. It meets us in a broken condition. And our cry, the cry of our heart, is a cry of justice. Look at 36, Psalm 36 and verse 1. Transgression speaks to the wicked deep in his heart. There is no fear of God before his eyes. He flatters himself in his own eyes, that his iniquity cannot be found out and hated. The words of his mouth are trouble and deceit. He has ceased to act wisely and do good. He plots trouble while on his bed. He sets himself in a way that is not good. He does not reject evil. Now, look at verse 5. There's a contrast between all of what the wicked do. Look at verse 5. Your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. Your righteousness is like the mountain of God. Your judgments are like the great deep. Man and beast you save, O Lord. As you're reading the Bible and you encounter these difficult passages, remember, don't pull that one passage out and try to dissect it. You have to look at the whole picture of the biblical narrative. Otherwise, you'll lose your place.